Last time on EHoY! Maribel! Call me Maribel. You make me a dainty little ring. Ooh. Your Highness, which from above. I operate a bookshop. You may think this is a strange place, but in truth, there is a reason behind our madness. Not everyone has left the life of being constantly inundated with material pleasures. You see, years ago the powers that be in Zeasa decided that they would benefit from being just slightly meddlesome. The state called it pleasure regulation. Zeasa as a whole has brought more pleasure when people abstain from more than 4 standard drinks. So the state restricts how much you drink. Many Zeasans lavish money as if it is some kind of ambrosia. In short, dear, it is like this. They are deceitful fools, the lot of them! And now continuing. And we can choose to explore her anger towards Zeus's materialism, or dig deeper on her husband's issues. I'm curious about her anger, and where that's coming from. But also the ring is for her husband. So we kind of need to know what she wants for him. Also, nobody has requested a specific kind of ring yet. She's just like, give me a ring. Is that how this shit works? I would expect people to have more specific desires for what they want out of a ring. Or any piece of jewelry. But I mean, I guess if it's a gift it doesn't matter as much. But still, at least give me a gold or silver. I'm scared of digging deeper, causing her to get more angry just because of how much she's been avoiding the situation. I don't know much about what would be the best route to take when dealing with somebody of large angers and avoidance of certain subject. I'm going to dig deeper though. Let's forget about the bartender for now then. Tell me, what is your husband struggling with? Is it perhaps related to the life you left behind in your youth? You are the perceptive type, aren't you, my sweet? That laugh was not in her voice. But first, do let me say, I am truly sorry. It appears I am running low on composure. I lost my senses there. I admire your resolve to handle my mood fluctuations so calmly. Anyhow, yes, my husband, as kind-hearted as he can be, he remains stubborn as a mule in how he shies away from my words of guidance. This mulish man has spent every single day of his miserable life by my side. He has seen my days of indulgence firsthand. Those days I wound up suffering from the sheer enormity of pleasure with which I would numb my every sense. How paradoxical, no? The pleasure had captured me so tightly. I would even suffer to experience it again. I was utterly trapped within a ceaseless cycle that threatened to zombify me. And when I left those days behind me, he was there to witness how it all unfolded. He saw me emerge from the prison of pleasure. And now, it is he who is stuck in that very prison, bound by the iron bars of pleasure. And yet he does not even bother to ask for my key. Nay, he remains so steadfastly arrogant that he will not even take the key when I stuff it in his face and beg he take it from me. Yet he insists his situation is different. Smack bang in the middle of his midlife crisis and whining like a teenager about how he isn't like other Zeasans. Pathetic. What kind of cycle are you referring to here? What exactly is this prison of pleasure? I need to not do this voice for her. The prison, my dear, is the hedonic cycle. The hedonic cycle. The tendency for one to become desensitized to pleasures as their expectations grow, causing a constant pursuit of increasing pleasure. Yeah, check that out. Ooh, juice. One squeezes all the juice out of a source of pleasure until it is completely drained, and no longer provides any joy at all. Oh, right. Then they move on to another kind of pleasure, until that's no longer satisfying, and so on. Exactly. And so on, ad infinitum. It never ends. I was a shadow of who I am now back then, slaving away at the office with lofty capital dreams on the mind, constantly numbing the pain with psych-eddies and booze. Stars, Maribel did psych-eddies too? Is it really that common in Zeasa? Livid at all the limitations preventing me from destroying myself further. I'm glad you moved beyond that, Maribel. As am I. Sorry, there was something in my throat. I have rid myself of the cycles that do not provide a sense of true joy or fulfillment and personal meaning. But my spiteful husband, on the other hand... No, I'm too into this voice. I can't fucking change it now. No. I must not allow myself to see malice in such folly. Especially as you rightfully stopped me from doing so earlier. Maribel, I'd like to know one thing. Help me enchant this ring for you. Ah, yes. I have not explained the one fortune most graciously bestowed upon me, have I? No, you haven't. So your pursuits are different because they're fulfilling, right? But how did you move past this hedonic cycle yourself, and towards those pursuits? It was the result of one simple object. You see, I was lucky enough to come across something true one day. It was an ornately bound compilation of papers, commonly referred to as a book. Yes, I am familiar with those. This book led me to an indescribable discovery. Hitherto this encounter, something core to my being was lacking, yet I had not even realized it. Meaning. And his beautiful older sister, fulfillment. This must have been some book, if you found the meaning and fulfillment that you lacked in it. Yes, well, if I'm honest, I'm not so sure that was entirely the case. Oh. Who was this person? Perhaps it wasn't so much the book itself that helped me, but the act of reading, a good environment, and a benevolent soul. At the time, the late owner of the bookstore, Mr. Nelson, bless his kind soul, was my boss. My desire was to laze away in the empty shop and earn easy money. You must know how few people read these days, dear. It's even less in Zeasa. I was not an upstanding individual back then, unfortunately. Please, my tulip, shield your innocent mind from my days lost in delinquents. In delinquents. Yeah, sure. You see... Loading again. This is giving me a lot of options. A lot of opportunities to... to just stop this before I destroy my throat. No, I cannot bring myself to say it. Such sacrilegious behavior in such an esteemed dwelling. Oh, how I was a swine. You must say it. After all, if you tell me of your past sacrilegious behavior, I can help your husband move past his own. A fair point. What a convincing, conniving little conversationalist you are. You see, I would regularly show up to this bookstore significantly intoxicated. So pissed I often could barely walk straight. Oh. Yes, I knew I could take advantage of the stroke. Where did I read stroke? Yes, I knew I could take advantage of the store's lack of business, so I did. Yet I was not aware of how shrewd old Mr. Nelson was. The patient man easily noticed my disheveled state, and rather than fire me, he began asking more of me. One night, he had me out in the shop's front, as drunk as a sailor, slurring out a sales pitch for a recent bestseller, A Leafless Dream. This will not do, the man told me afterwards, shaking his head thoroughly and muttering to himself. That was it, I thought. My drunkenness had lost me the job, which, despite my behavior, I sorely needed. Here's the issue, Maribel, old Nelson told me. You need to know this book well to sell it.
Oh.
I like this Nelson guy. As do I. So the man tasked me with reading this massive fantasy book, and of course I had no interest in actually doing so, but Mr. Nelson knew when I lied about reading it. No amount of online summaries would suffice. Wow! 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 Oh god. So eventually I was pushed into actually reading the damned thing, and by the forces did I find it difficult to read. A Leafless Dream was this sprawling fantasy story about a young girl called Izzy. The story saw her fight against oppressive demon rulers that sought to burn down the forests of her elven kind. Being thrown into a world rich with lore and complex world-building was incredibly foreign to me back then. I pushed myself to slog through the pages. It was tiresome, painful even. Every page was a chore. But I told myself the job was worth it. I suppose I should be thankful my money-hungry frenzy gave me something worthwhile in the end. Strangely, I found myself enjoying being grilled by old Nelson upon walking into the store. I had an answer to his every question. It was rewarding, seeing him grin at my newfound understanding of this fantastical world and the nuanced conflict between the elves and demons. But it wasn't until I finally finished the novel that it hit me. Upon reading the last word, I felt something powerful swell within me. A joy like no other I'd experienced. I had finally done it. I had overcome all the trials and succeeded in reading this epic brick of a book. I had conquered my own demons. And surprisingly, I felt grateful. Grateful to have experienced such an enticing story, from start to finish. Looks like grateful is the amount. What would feeling grateful do to the husband? Doesn't feel like something you can easily like just become grateful. Just because if the emotion that we are going to channel here is going to be grateful, yes, I guess. I mean, I guess he could feel grateful for his wife, potentially. And that's the only thing I can think of. I mean, she's going to give him the gift, so maybe that just works out there. Maybe I'm overthinking it. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's very wholesome of you, Maribel. I must admit, you are right. It is.
Oh.
See, listen to that fucking voice. That's fine. It's like, oh. I found myself thinking of the book constantly. Little girl. Man, that would have been fun. God, that would have been a fun voice to do. Hopefully there's another character that I could have done for that. I found myself thinking of the book constantly, and feeling everything it gave me once more.
Oh.
Well, that was different to the one I just... Every time I saw the cover in store, I felt that unbridled joy and the wondrous pull of Lizzie's adventure once more. And every time I left the bookstore and returned to the streets of Zaesa, or my thankless corporate job, I missed that feeling. Naturally, I began to move towards this newfound conception of joy in my life. As soon as my... Laughing at my... I don't know if this voice is either great or fucking terrible. And soon my priorities followed in accordance. Yet, even this joy began to lose its luster after a few years. Not all books are equally brilliant. And there were only so many others like A Leafless Dream that could fill the emptiness within me. Gradually, I began to realize there was very, very little in this world that contains any meaning whatsoever. Wow, that took a dark turn very quickly. Or we'll give meaningless to the ring. And absolutely nothing is truly rich with meaning. Really? Nothing? Correct. Look, answer me this. What does it matter if I accidentally trip over and smash a window in my apartment? What? How would that even happen? What kind of question? I asked for an answer from you, not more questions. Of course it matters. You need to fix the window. Or, I guess it could be a good thing? I feel like the trick answer, the wrong answer, is of course it matters. You need to fix the window. Because I have a feeling that that's the type of answer that she would have like a prepped response for. That's what she wants to hear, so that she can make her point. Now, what does it matter if I accidentally trip over and smash a window in my apartment? I guess it could be a good thing. How could it be a good thing, though? I'll give her what she wants. I guess it's a pretty big deal. You'll need to fix that window and... Yes, I will of course have to fix my window. I couldn't have those thieving infantile delinquents break into my home after all. So yes, this sounds like a scary place. And yet, this issue we've burdened ourselves with is perhaps even more infantile than the delinquents. Think. This is just one window of my small apartment, which is just one piece of residence for many, many thousands in Zeasa. Which in turn is only a small piece of a much larger continent. Which again is only a fraction of this much larger planet of ours. Even this very planet is a speck of dust in comparison to the billions of stars, galaxies, and other space-like contraptions out there. And yet, we still stress about how much we need to repair the smashed window, right? Exactly! It's utter nonsense! Don't shout anymore, please. Have mercy. But gradual realization was my calling towards nihilism. I began to feel the weight of life's meaninglessness. Yet, foolishly, the notion depressed me for some time. I could not seem to shake it. Until I let the negativity devolve beyond the negative. I realized that if such a meaninglessness was indeed the state of reality, I may as well enjoy whatever futile fruits it had in offer. After all, if everything is meaningless, then what is there to do other than try to be happy? And I envisioned in that moment a venture that would bring about a more deeply rooted joy, sharing my newfound love of books. And so I took on more responsibility in the bookstore, and put in as much effort as I could into helping our customers find that love too. Stuck in the Zeasan way of life, such a simple, fulfilling joy had never even crossed my mind before. This lifestyle was tough. I often questioned why I put myself through such suffering during those early mornings. But at the end of every day, I would look back and feel a slight contentedness with myself that I was not accustomed to. So eventually, I left the corporate life behind and leapt wholeheartedly into this pursuit. And that was it. From then onwards, a liberating, relentless optimism overwhelmed every depressing, nihilistic thought that had come across my mind. Oh, really? Of course not! If only such a thing could be so simple. But I try to aspire towards that ideal, at the very least. Alas, my witch from above. What do you sense is the key emotion behind this fulfillment my husband so dearly needs? How shall you enchant this precious little ring? Where does our story leave me? Futility? Would that work? No, the futility was only one piece of the puzzle for Maribel. The single most important feeling in this situation. I can't put my finger on it. The key lies in that moment of realization. The epiphany that a life fixated on pleasure is unfulfilling. What made her critical of that cycle of pleasure? Perhaps a kind of cynicism would work? Do you have any strong memories of feeling cynical that helped you during this point? Cynicism. A bit specific, but I sense the direction you are heading, my child. Yet something is not quite right. Does cynicism not imply a malice? A contempt towards those stuck within hedonism? You don't feel contempt towards Zeasans for their self-destructive habits? I do, yet I don't think it is a part of what makes this optimistic nihilism help me. Yes, that makes sense. Again, you are very close, dear, but contempt is not what led me to seek fulfillment. What do I do? Think, Twilight, think. What could possibly be the key here? To pull someone away from pleasure and towards lasting fulfillment? What could it be? I search my mind desperately. Maribel's expecting glaze lingering above me. An emotion that causes an epiphany, causes one to rearrange their priorities. Twyla? Yes, sorry, I just need a second to think.
Oh.
Think to your heart's content then. I will take a I will take a page out of Mr. Nelson's book and muster some patience. Think. Think! Listen, what I've learnt is that forcing yourself to think by thinking think isn't going to help you think. You gotta breathe. Don't think about thinking and let the thinking happen naturally. Nothing. I have nothing. This is so beyond me. Nihilism? Hedonic cycles? This is all too much. It never even came across my mind. What happens if I falter at this moment? I close my eyes and attempt to focus. But it is in vain. My mind continues to scramble helplessly between all the information Maribel has thrown towards me. I'm helpless. A whisper in my head beckons me to give up. Don't waste any more of her time. Just accept it. You failed. Why are you still trying? Immediately, in an agonizingly familiar junction between the hallways of my mind, a light flickers on. Oh, oh no! Oh fuck! How do I make her voice not Twyla's voice? Tua? 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 I almost don't recognize the memory that appears before me. It feels like another life, when Mum called me Tua. She would say it so affectionately. It'd remind her of when I was a toddler, struggling to say my name. That day, I was complaining all afternoon about how the other kids at school kept beating me in chess. Fucking relatable, man. It's like, and then like, the only friends you have are fucking good at chess. We got it. Small tangent. When I was in school and shit, in the little fucking chess club and shit, I was there like once or twice, and God, I just. Anyway. But how they were so much smarter than me, and I'd always lose no matter how hard I tried. Usually when I wanted ice cream, Mum would give me a firm no. No, that part isn't me. Usually when I'd wanted ice cream, Mum would give me a firm no. I could beg all I wanted, but her answer wouldn't change. She'd say... Her answer wouldn't change, she'd say. Right, okay. That's how that sentence is supposed to go. I could beg all I wanted, but her answer wouldn't change, she'd say. But that day, as we sat in the car after a full hour of grocery shopping, she ripped my favorite kind of icy pole from behind her back. God, how do you keep that there without, like, getting... Like, because that's not, like... That's, like, out of, like, the sleeve, right? Like... And that's painting the picture that it was out of the sleeve when she was holding it behind her back in my mind. And I'm thinking, how the fuck do you avoid? Then, like, if that gets on your shirt and then, like, all the little lint and whatever is going to be on the icy pole and then it touches the car seat and so everything's going to be sticky. Anyway. Her eyes twinkled as she said something that, to this day, I've kept stored in the depths of my mind. My mind. Fuck. Tua. I would rather you try your best and fail, than succeed without trying at all. Hey, what's up? This is potentially another cutoff for the video recording. The song that's in the background while I'm doing this one is much less hype than the last recording was, so this is a chiller tone. Anyway, thank you for watching. Remember the buttons. Good move tonight. I'm making this shorter. I'll catch you later. The buttons are important though. Hit them if you want. Be weird though. You'll move on.